Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another video under Cracked Wide Open. I'm Star. My real name is Cheryl, those of you who don't know. And I want to welcome you back to another Cracked Wide Open video where we crack consciousness wide open. So today I want to talk a little bit about the last video that I spoke of. I'll leave a link for it in the tags description after this video is over for you guys, and you can refer to it. First of all, I want to call consciousness in, if you'll allow me. Take a deep breath. Release. When you're ready, take another deep breath. One more. Thank you so much for giving me that moment. On the last video under Cracked Wide Open, I talked a little bit about the sickness of the mind. I talked a little bit about the central nervous system and how our mind is the seed for the body. And I got some emails. People were asking, well, what do you mean by the seed to the body? The reason the mind is the seed to the body is because the thought you plant in the mind feeds the mind, and the mind feeds the body. So it's no different than going outside in your garden and planting a seed for a flower to come up. If you didn't take care of the flower or the seedling that's coming up and water it and give it sun and take care of it, it would pass away and expire. If you watered it, gave it sun, gave it vitamins, and took care of it and nurtured it and loved it, it would grow and it would thrive. We talked a little bit about the central nervous system and how the central nervous system in our body is designed to organize chaos. So I want to extend a little bit on that, talk about the false core and the false self, and give you towards the end some modalities that will assist you in this to open up the gap that I spoke of in the last video between the unconscious and consciousness. The central nervous system, again, takes alleged chaos of stillness, and it organizes it into a fashion in which you see the world today and how you see yourself, okay? If anyone knew about quantum physics or studied it, part of quantum physics talks of this, right? That it's not for everyone, that it's not a quick fix, it's not a cure-all, it's only a vehicle of hopes. By nothing is guaranteed in our universe because we live in a state of impermanence. And this is a multidimensional universe, and we are a multidimensional being having an experience in it. Okay. I'm going to touch just briefly on the dimensions, okay? And I'll give you some of the titles of the names of the first 8, and then know that there are 3 beyond the 8. The first one would be your external dimension, what's going on around you. Number 2 would be your thinking. Number 3 would be your biological, your animal instinct, right? Number 4 would be your essence. Number 5 would be I, or I am, right? Number 6 is the collective unconsciousness. 7 is me, I. Separation, thinking you're separate then. And then you'll have the void, and then that will bring on a nameless absolute, and then there are 3 additional phases beyond that. So with this multidimensional universe that we live in, and I've explained on the cross, as you use the cross this way outwardly, that's the universe we live in. The cross straight up and down is our creator. The central nervous system is no different, as I spoke of, as the Mac that you run your programs on in your home. If it runs on outdated programs, gets a virus or something of that nature, you take the necessary steps and you clean the virus out and you put new programs in your system so it runs properly and it can thrive. No different than your body. Your body has multidimensional facets to it. 8 of those dimensions I just listed to you, and then the 3 levels that go beyond that I haven't spoken of yet. So if our central nervous system, and I'm going to lay this out as easily as I can, and I hope you can understand, please know that if you have a question, just ask. I'm happy to answer if I can. I don't know everything. I'm only being shown what to show you, and I'm just pointing the way, okay? If your central nervous system is supposed to create some sort of order and organize it out of the chaos that's going on around you, okay. If there is an awareness and it is so fixated on recreating, reinforcing, resisting, or recreating, right, through a false sense of self in an attempt to cover up your false core, how do I say that, Spirit? It's essential for liberation to take place of awareness within your multidimensional being, your form. And the subjective experience you're having to your external dimension, your environment, she's showing me, to become free. And each one of these levels is, how are you saying that? She's showing me a function, like a function of the body, like it's a function, and that function has its purpose. Like the frontal lobe is a object, right? And the object is the frontal lobe, and it has its purpose, right? The frontal lobe is the executor. It's the driver of the bus. It's the one that calls all the shots. It's the one that allows the communication between the right brain and the left brain to communicate and allow your central nervous system and your autonomic nervous system to respond appropriately to the chaos going on around you. Does that make better sense? No. What I want to do is give you ask you to do a little test for me, and you can do it now or you can do it later. And I'm going to call it. We did a little bit of it last time, called self-remembering. Okay. In our external world, right? We pay attention, and we spend 99.9999% of our time looking at that external world. And when we're looking at that external world, we're looking at it like we have an arrow pointed back at it, and it's pointed to the external world. Okay. So you're looking right at it. You're pointing right at it, right? You see it, you hear it, you feel it, you sense it. It's all around you. Okay. Okay. But here's the question. You're seeing it through the lens of your eyes. You're seeing it through the perception of you. you're seeing that perception based on the habitual mind pattern we were born into the collective with, number one. That is one of the steps I told you about the multi-dimensions. Two, you're also basing it on a pattern that you were raised with, from religion to parents to schooling to wealth to status to things you were taught that are pseudo, and they are limited belief systems, and it's a habitual mind pattern, and it causes a habitual problem in the mind. That's why sickness lies in the mind. And our greatest goal here on this planet is to awaken to the fact that you are not the mind. So maybe close your eyes for a second. And now I'm going to ask you to direct yourself to the deeper I within you. Take about 2 or 3 deep breaths. Now that arrow that was directed to your external world is now directed to your inner world. Do you feel the difference? That's self. That's self. That's real conscious self. And remembering that is key for liberation to take effect. It's like if you place your hands together, just a tiny bit apart, and you begin to feel a tingling and warmth sensation between your hands, it's energy. And if the energy lies within your hands, it lies within your mind, your body, your head, your ears, your nose, your eyes, your lips, and all the way down to your beautiful toes. Okay? But what happens is, instead of us leaving everything to Creator and trusting that there's a plan far greater than anything that we could consider feasible or even imaginable, we run on a habitual mind pattern, and I've talked about her before. I call her the Judy Judsons, and it is a little egoic box that we have carved out for ourselves, and we run on that habitual mind pattern, and it causes some surya. So in quantum psychology, quantum physics, anything that you've studied or learned about those things, I don't know what your level of education is, and it doesn't matter. I'm only stating what I know, okay? And what she's showing me to show. Quantum psychology, the principle about it is what is true on one level is not true on another. It is a matter of perception, and that's why there is no guarantee. And it's usually perceived out of the perception of the person perceiving it, their own eyes. Because your central nervous system is going to make sense and organize that chaos, and you're going to automatically put it in the egoic box that you were born with, the habitual mind pattern of the collective unconsciousness. And then you're going to add on your limited habitual mind pattern and belief systems you were taught growing up by no fault of your own. Why? That's why we call it unconscious and conscious, because the veil is up right now and you're unconscious and you cannot see. You cannot see. You cannot be held responsible for what you do. That's why it states in the Bible, turn the other cheek, for I know not what I do. So, if in quantum psychology, the physics, the science behind what I'm saying to you all, what is true at one level is not necessarily true on another level. That would mean if one's level of awareness is confused with another, wouldn't that cause some problems? And it's only based on the perception of the eyes that you are seeing through the veil. Is the veil up? And are you seeing through that? Or is the veil down? That causes a false core self, and that false core self must be processed. It must be understood. It must be digested in order for liberation to take place. How do I say that? Mhm. You have to understand and give me patience, because she shows me in sacred symbolism and I have to put the pictures together almost like a puzzle. The false core self is invisible to us, right? Mhm. The assumption that you hold of yourself, which organizes all your entire psychology and philosophy, and the way you handle yourself and represent yourself in life. Mhm. You even say, she says, myself, yourself, him, her, I, other. That's the glue. She's showing me glue. That's the glue that holds it all together. That's the glue that holds the false core self all together. And any attempt to compensate that core self is only going to reinforce the false core self. Mhm. Which is what what I keep telling you guys, and she keeps taking me back to, is if you look into one of those things and you see a kaleidoscope and you see all those circles going in every other different directions, that's the kaleidoscope she's showing me, and that's the grid we're sitting on, and it's holographic, but it is one unit. It's one unit. Regardless of the circles and the way they go and how many there is, it doesn't make any difference, because we're multidimensional and we're all of one unit. That's what she's showing me. So she's showing me another example. She's showing me the Mandela. I'll add a little bit of a story here with this. When I had my shift, I was searching in all different types of places for some guidance. And I went to a spiritual center and I said, I've never been here before, but I certainly want to see what it's about. And if I can find some solace here, then I'm going to do it. And so I went in, and it just so happened that it was an idiosyncrasy that the Tibetan monks were there, and they were doing the Dalai Lama in sand. And on the outside of the Dalai Lama, when they did the Mandela, it's everybody's holding hands. Everybody's naked, small like a child figure, and they're all holding hands. And in the center of is the lotus flower, right? And that's when the Dalai Lama comes out and pushes all the sand together to the lotus, and then we walked it down to the river and we let it go. And letting the sand out in the water resembles things and does things in spiritual in mysticism and mythology. And so I followed through with all of the processes that they did there at the center. And so I think that's part of the reason why she's also showing me the kaleidoscope, right? Because we all live on that grid of this universe. I keep showing you the cross. The false self is going to attempt to hide. It's going to attempt to hide from the false core. And it's going to do that because there's a whole bunch of reasons, but the organizing principle behind it is based on the central nervous system. The central nervous system creates the illusion that things, events, people, places, things in time, right, are similar over what is that? Over the generalized making of them, she's saying. They appear to be the same, but as I was stating in quantum physics, it's not the same. It's what's true on one level is not necessarily true on another level. And so I know it's hard to understand this, but maybe this will make sense. And I don't know where the hell this is coming from. What is that? I'm seeing a foot in a river, and she's saying you can never put your foot in the same river twice. What the I don't know what that means. Maybe that means because if I put my foot or my toe in a river now and I did it tomorrow, I wouldn't be the same person because every cell has mitosis in my body and overturns itself every 30 days. So that would that makes sense. Thank you, Spirit. Okay. she has a very profound sense of humor. Excuse me. What is that? Zen. She's showing me Zen. Zen consciousness, right? Okay. So the false core it's invisible to us. It's an invisible energetic field around you that you don't know is there, that you can't feel is there, that you can't sense is there. And the only time you probably do is when you differentiate between danger and fear. Okay. And let me give you an example. If I am afraid because something's frightening me, my parasympathetic system, in the central nervous system will automatically notify the autonomic nervous system. It will kick in fight, flight, and I will run for my life or I will fight for my life. Okay. If I'm frightened, fear and danger are not the same. Danger is an illusion we create in the mind. The body is a perfect machine. And when we're in danger, serious danger, like a bear coming at you, your body's going to respond automatically. That's why they call it autonomic nervous system. It's automatic. So, for healers, okay, which you guys know, I'm not a healer. Mm-hmm. I'm the vehicle in which I'm delivering healing to others. I'm just doing as I'm giving away what's so graciously been given to me. And to give away, I receive. To receive, I give away. It's a conundrum. The world is reverse. So the false core is invisible to you, to a healer, to a Reiki practitioner, to an awakened being. That energetic field, that core false energetic field of a sentinel being. That's why they don't need to tell me anything before they see me in my studio. They don't need to tell me what their condition is because I can see the aura and the energetic field around them. And I am guided to the energy that is stuck within the cells of the psychological, emotional, and physical body. And I clear them and the meridians. They can't see it. They can't understand how come it works. They don't care how it works. They just know it does. And so most of my clients, by the first 10 minutes on my massage table, they're snoring and totally out. I have to actually wake them to turn them over. And it's because they tell me, the minute you put your hands on me, I felt your energy, and it was like you were rocking me in peace, unconditional love, and joy. And I just laid all defenses down, and that's what happens. So the false core is invisible to us, to you, to others, and even prior to my awakening, the false core was invisible to me. It's really worthless, other than it's just core belief systems that you were taught that are pseudo and that are not true and that are false, and you just don't know it yet. And so they really serve no purpose except to tell a healer what kind of condition your physical, psychological, mental, emotional, and processes are, right? And we're never questioning them because they're so interwoven. They're so interwoven in the fabric of your very being, of you, of your life, that you don't even see them, right? That's how transparent they are. Consciousness is consciousness is so subtle. If you do not still the momentum in the mind, you'll miss it. It'll go right by you and you won't see it. You'll miss it. You have to know that the false core is a concept. What is a concept to you? It's one's belief, one's conclusion, one's end game, one's ultimate result. If you have a concept based on a belief you were taught, and once you have that concept, I've stated it before, the decision or choice that you make to create that concept, to create or choose that belief, the conclusion is already decided for you. It's the I structure that you have drawn upon about yourself and the world, trying to reinforce the core, the false core of oneself. And we do it all the time to one another, right? And so the central nervous system, it organizes this entire framework. And it has infinite numbers of ways of defending against so many things. Let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. She's showing me the outdoors, the wilderness, in the woods, okay. If someone goes in the woods and cuts a tree down, the tree that gets cut can't go to the emergency room or the doctor or to the pharmacy or to anywhere, right? It has nature and consciousness to heal its wound. And it bleeds. It's a proven fact they bleed. An animal in the wild knows when to go off and heal itself, or to go off and lay down below a tree and expire, pass away, because it knows it's time. There's no resistance. There's no blockage or false core that's being created of themselves. The tigers and the cougars and the lions, they don't take any more food from another wildlife other than what's necessary for it to survive and thrive, and its cubs possibly. It's the I structure that we humans have created in our minds. That's the problem. That's the I structure that you have drawn your very conclusion. Like I said, the concept about yourself. You've drawn the very belief system about yourself. Hell, you've even decided the outcome. It organizes this in a number of ways. It's nobody's fault. It's unconscious until it becomes conscious. So you have to give yourself a little bit of leeway, right? and lighten up on yourself. And that's one of the hardest things we have to do, is learn how to love ourselves. It's a hard thing to do. So to organize the entire number of ways of you defending, right, against something, or defending or overcoming something, or resisting something, or that's called organizational theory. You are running on the Judy Jetsons, and you are in an organizational theory tendency that's in the egoic mind pattern, that this is the way this is my concept, this is the way I believe, this is the way I'm going to behave, and this is going to be the outcome. I don't care who you are. I know my story. It's a story. It's a story. It's a concept. And the concept is not consciousness. Consciousness is not a concept. It is that which leads to beyond. Excuse me. The false core is the false cause and effect, right? If I have a false core, if I make a decision, a choice to have a false core, the decision of false self is already created for me. That's choice and decision. That's duality, conundrum. If you reinforce defending, overcoming things, saying something's wrong, having a specific ideology, belief system, and you recreate that resistance over and over in your mind after a period of 10 months, after the harmful stimuli is removed, you create a chronic condition and a dis in your body, which creates disease. Age is a number. Where I sit, you're not going anywhere. The false core is a false cause, and it is formed because of the false core you have of yourself. That is the cause and effect. Once a false core is believed, the mind, it's going to create a false solution. If I have a false core belief, I create a false core solution as well, because cause and effect, I don't even have the truth in the beginning. I'm going to say it. I don't know why she's showing me that. Why are you showing me that again? She's showing me a core, a hole, and in the center of it is a false core, and it is a false cause, she's saying. And then the cause is formed already. And once a cause once you've already created that in your mind, that false cause, and you believe it, the mind's going to create a false solution for the problem or for self. Hello. To overcome, what are you showing me? To overcome this fantasized, she's showing me fireworks, fantasized false cause. Narcissistic wound or narcissistic trauma begins here. That's where it happens. That's where it starts. Because there's a false core, right? If someone believes a false core about themselves, and then the mind's going to create something like, it's my way or the highway. I'm going to scream and holler and yell, and it has to be my way or the highway. I think what are those called? Overt? No. Covert? I don't. Something about covert, overt narcissism. One's silent. She's showing me just narcissistic trauma. It causes a narcissistic wound. And then if you have a narcissistic wound, that's a narcissistic trauma, right? And upon realization of that, there's separateness, she's showing me. As I am is formed, right? The form of me. My mom says, you are a little girl. Your name is such and such. And you're supposed to behave a specific way. And these are the things you're supposed to do in life. Upon realization, as I talked about in the last video, between 5 and 12 months, you learn you're separate from your mother. And so you create that separation. I and she are separate. God does not confuse himself and his son. They are one of the same. The minute they decided to crucify Jesus on the cross, the decision was already made for sentinel beings to have everlasting life. Let no man put it under. The Bible says no wind, earth, wind, or fire can destroy it. And narcissism is all in us. We all have a form of narcissism. Narcissism is just the source. But if you think it's the source and the center of your universe, right? My mother and I, right? Meaning her and I are separate. That's a false conclusion. And so you may create a narcissistic wound if you're a male between you and your mom. If you're a female, it might be between you and your dad. You know, the false, the core is a concept, okay? And that's where you have to be key and vigilant with the words you're saying, because and thinking, because concept is a conclusion. If I have a concept about something, I've already learned about it and I have come to a conclusion about it. And now my decision is already made for me. So it's a false cause and effect. And it can be, the false cause is in what you believe as real. What's leading to the false solution and false conclusions is what you believe to be real, right? The core concept most patients I see is, I'm worthless. By the very essence of you saying you're worthless, you've created a false concept, belief system about yourself. Now you have a false conclusion and you're going to feel nothing but worthlessness, because the laws of universe have no other direction than to respond, because it's a machine. It starts here. And if you're repeating that and reinforcing that, you're just reinforcing that false concept and false conclusion of yourself about why, or even by why something even occurred in the first place. You can't heal something false, can you? Because it's not true in the first place. So you must see it as false first so that you can reach a healful conclusion. For what is false causes discord and samsuriya. I'm going to jump into a little bit of how I know that this causes samsuriya and problems for the body. And if you have questions, please reach out to me. In all of our bodies, our mental, our physical, our psychological, our mental, our everything, our physical, you have contractual energy and it doesn't flow freely sometimes in sentinel beings. And how it operates is there's that energy field that I told you that's around you. but the energy that's around you seems to be full of pain and sensoria, and it manifests itself in fear, anger, depression, pain, and it lies within the cells of the body. And I've explained it's a biofeedback loop upon itself. And so let me explain that to you. If I feed my mind a habitual story that says, I'm never going to amount to anything, I'm always going to be worthless, my mother died of this at this age, I'm doomed for that to happen to me. If that's the story, the thought pattern, the cause that I keep telling myself, because the cause is the reason you keep telling it to yourself, and it begins to cause a core belief system that you begin to live by, the body will organize itself in a way of manifestation of that, and it will bring you exactly what you're asking it of. The energy lies within us and around us, right? And so if the seed is the mind is the seed for the body, you're seeding the mind with that reinforcement, with that false, pseudo limited behavior or belief system that you were taught. And it's pseudo, it's false. And it will manifest itself in a negative, she's showing me discord. She's showing me just chaotic discord, pain, fear, anxiety, depression. It will begin to manifest itself in a physical form in your physical world. Okay. That's I'm going to take these out. You guys tell me if you still hear me. The pain body is, you have many processes, not just one, okay? You have mental processes, psychological processes, emotional processes, and physical processes, right? And so to put it in simpler terms, I'm going to say you have an emotional, a psychological, and the physical form. And it's invisible and you can't see it. And every trauma, every experience you've had that lies deep, remember I said it's deep interwoven, deep, 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 deep interwoven on the DNX helix in your chain. That's why when cell mitosis turns over, the memory doesn't leave because the cell never leaves. It just splits the cytoplasm and mitosis takes place and it transcribes the identical cell again. And if the transcription that you keep feeding it, the seed in the mind, is the same, the transcription to the cell can't change. So by cause and effect, you're already causing disease in the body by the seed you're planting. I hope that makes sense. And so the processes of the body, every snapshot we take from the time we're raised, right? Little, getting our butt kicked on the playground, or maybe on a school bus, or someone saying something to hurt our feelings, or one of our siblings or persons rearing us did not give us an emotional need we needed. We fragmented that to survive. That's built into the central nervous system. It's built in. It's called survival. That's how, I don't like that vision. Okay, that's how men and women she's showing you that work in pretty severe opt conditions in the service, and they have to serve some not so nice jobs. They fragment, and they do that because they have to cope in the trenches. They're not doing it. The central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system is coping with the chaos, the environment around them. Okay, it's no fault of their own. That's why they come back with PTSD or wounded injuries that they can't seem to get over, because someone needs to show them this and it'll stop. The bodies pain can lay dormant at times, right? And sometimes it's not dormant. And when it's not dormant, it's triggered by somebody poking at you, and they usually know how to poke at you a specific way and get a specific reaction from you and a response. And so, and you do, and that's that body, that emotional or pain body feeding off that other individual. You can have a pain, a trauma, an injury, a wound, or even an emotion or something that's laying dormant for a very, 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 very long time. And one day it gets triggered. It might be an event, it might be an occurrence, it might just be bam, pain, right? Suffering, right? Emotionally, and you don't know why. And sometimes it's due to the activities that you feed the mind. And the more seed you feed the mind, the more pain you have. It's like an habitual mind loop onto itself. Feed creates an emotion. The emotion in the body creates a biological, chemical release of hormones. You feel an emotion, you off down the rabbit hole, creating pain, and it reloops back upon itself. That's the Judy Jetsons, I call her. It's no fault of your own. It's no different than I don't want to say it that way. When someone is addicted to something, addicted to a substance, or addicted to alcohol, or addicted to something, and if you ever speak to them towards the end, they'll tell you that they didn't take the substance or the thing in the end because they wanted to. In fact, they didn't want to. They took it because they needed it to survive, to live, to function. That's what she's showing me. This is no different than that habitual addictive behavior that an alcoholic or an addict would have, because the body is chasing the release of the hormones from the parasympathetic system. By you don't even know what's happening. It's autonomic, right? So the body's craving those hormones that you're releasing, and because you want to get back up here to a 10, and then you get a 10 and you come back down and you're good for a little while, right? That's why in relationships, relationships will be going along all nice and well, and then all of a sudden there'll be a hiccup in the road, and someone will be feeding off the other's pain body, and they know exactly how to trigger you. And it's like feeding off one another's emotional, mental, and psychological pain bodies. And hello, it may lay dormant for a very long time. Thank you so much. It may lay dormant for a very long time until that right event or right circumstance, and bam. And it's really quick. It happens so quick you don't even know it's happening. And that's why I call it the Judy Jetsons robot, because it's almost like a goddamn entity. That's why I call it the Judy Jetsons. It needs to be fed on an experience that's going to further give it more pain. This future pain, it's going to cause an emotion that's going to be painful to you. And then it's going to loop back on itself. And it's going to continue feeding, and it's going to create another thought and another emotional pain and another loop and another thought. And it's like a biofeedback loop. And if you look in the kaleidoscope, it looks like that, just biofeedbacking back on itself. Okay. It's I'm sitting here sometimes and I'm thinking of the things, the movies I've seen, right? And how close they are in the actual fact, and how far away they are. It's you know, if your pain body or psychological body or something arises out of a dormant state, it's going to need to feed on further pain, and it's going to increase in the mind, and it's going to align itself with that pain body through thought, through emotion, and through behavior, and it's going to create a painful emotion, and you're going to be off and down the goddamn rabbit hole before you know it. The pain body feeds on thinking. It feeds on other provoking, because it wants to exchange a reaction. That's why in relationships, the partner knows how to push the other button. I travel between unconscious and consciousness because I'm a shamanic healer. That's one of the satori's that Spirit has given to me. And it's just to bring back information that's relevant to the collective for the greater good of I, consciousness, and you. That's it. So the humans, we need to wake up. We need to wake up. The pain body feeds on thinking. That's why the sickness begins in the mind, because the thought is the seed for the body. And if you reinforce it based on occurrences and events and things that cause you sensoria, then you're feeding the pain body, and it's feeding off of you. And that's the Judy Judsons. And you're going to feed off others too. You're going to provoke them to engage in something that's going to elicit a reaction in them, and you're going to push the right one, and they're going to react. And there it is, eating away. You communicate with them all the time. You're part of a collective consciousness. You just don't know it. And what you choose to participate in is what your belief system is. Both partners feed off one another. That's why I believe Eckhart Tolle talks about no true relationship, because we mirror one another. We mirror one another to learn things about ourselves. And when someone accuses you of something, it's generally them that's guilty of that. It's cause and effect. The minute they do it, the decision is made. The minute they make a choice, the decision and outcome is made. That's a biofeedback loop. That's what it's no different than a biofeedback loop. And in nursing field, we know all about biofeedback loops because our body is full of them. And so these stuck energies can get stuck in the unhappy me. You can wind up in the unhappy me and the love and the unhappiness, and then the pressure builds up, and then bam, you provoke a reaction in somebody. The mind pattern will create that emotion. That feeling's going to increase. That chemical's going to be released, which causes you to react. And then it's going to bring you back down to I feel good now, until it builds up again and it gets stuck and it can't be released. The presence is key to break through this. The poor me, the poor body, the anger manifests, right? Poor me, poor me, poor me, poor body, poor body, poor body causes anger, anger, anger. And now it's going to manifest in physical form. I'm going to walk around with the biggest chip on my shoulder. I'm going to be pissed off at the world. Passive aggressive. Victim. Everything happens to me. I don't even know why I try. I might as well just give up. I might as well just throw the covers over my head and give up. Introvert, extrovert, doesn't make any difference. It's still the thought that's feeding the mind. And now you're feeding the body that thought. So I want to give you some modalities you can use to assist you with this stuff here, because the pain won't be able to use you anymore when you do this and once you recognize it. But it's paramount that you recognize it, okay? And a couple of things I want to mention right up front is, do not be hard on yourself. If you don't catch it the first time, it's okay. Let it go and say, oh, okay, I recognize that as being a part of the emotional or psychological or physical body, pain body that wants to renew itself. And I didn't catch it this time, but now I'll watch a little bit easier. I'll watch a little bit more, and you can become a little bit more vigilant, right? Because I've told you that yes, I see you, honey. Consciousness is subtle. And if you are not still in the mind, you will miss it. And if you cause enough momentum in the mind, increased momentum in the body causes disease and death. Therefore, reinforcing your core false belief. There is no death. There's no time. Time is an illusion, and so is death. God is an illusion. Ideologies we've been told and taught. Do you know anyone that's gone to heaven or hell? Can you show me where the coordinates of heaven are? Is it a man with a beard that I've been taught it was? Or is it a lady? Is it a child? Have you ever met anyone that's been there? Where's hell? Heaven and hell lies within the mind, because the sickness is within the mind. And that is paramount that you get that. Because you are the light of Christ consciousness. It states it in the Bible. God says, I am the light of the world, and you are the light of the world. If you are the light of the world, and God says he is the light of the world, does that not make you and he one of the same? Again, God does not confuse himself and his child, his son. They're one of the same. The minute they decided in this world, the chaos they created and the narcissism to torture him on a cross, Jesus, the decision was made by God that all sentinel beings will have everlasting life and let no man put it under. And this is Christ. This is God, our creator, right? And you can't destroy it by earth, wind, air, or fire. You're not born. You're brought into this world, and your mother was a vehicle. And you're going to leave this form and be put in another form, because there's everlasting life. There's a state of impermanence, and you're not going anywhere. You're just going to be placed in another form. So here are a few things you can do to not let the pain control you. You know, feel your presence between your hands. Do the test that I said about closing your eyes and imagining taking 3 deep breaths, and ask yourself, can I feel the deeper I, the sense of I within me? That's consciousness, that's presence. If you can take a step back before someone pokes you too desperately and makes you react, It's powerful. Compassion. Compassion is a powerful state. And just if you feel an emotion or a thought and it creates an emotion in your body, if you can allow it to be, just allow the feeling of the emotion to be. Don't engage it. Don't talk back to the little voice in the head that's talking to you about the thoughts. Allow the pain to be felt. The residual will pass. If you can watch it like the witness, the watcher, feel it and allow it, the presence will meet the pain body. And if you can hold that space while the turbulence is going on, so to speak, you can cut the link. And that's an opening, right? And so maybe like give yourself some kind of lesson, or not even a lesson, just say, today I'm going to try, if somebody pokes at me and they want to invoke a response in me, I'm going to step back from it for a second. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to take 3 deep breaths and I'm going to ask myself, the response that I create right now to this person poking at me, right? And some people will poke you with a pitchfork and it'll be hot on the end, right? So it's going to take vigilance on your part. Step back, take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, is my response for the greater good of me and them and the collective, or is it going to create harm on them and me and the collective? And you'll know what to do. And presence meets that poking. Consciousness meets that poking. And if you can hold that space for 3 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, each time it will increase. Each time it will increase. And here, here's an example I'll give you. I've been in the grocery store and I've overheard someone discussing a topic. And it was not a topic that I particularly am fond of. And it was not on any compassionate or loving level that they were speaking, right? And it provoked me. And now with my awakening, it only going to be not that 3 years, I understand it's the residual within the pain body wanting to rear its head and get involved and feed itself to renew itself. And I'm able to recognize that, right? So don't beat yourself up if you miss it the first time. It's okay. You'll get it the next time, right? Just create the opening, because the turbulence that happens, that's where you have to stay vigilant. It's like she's showing me an ocean, and on the top of the ocean, if a big old wave comes in, that's the turbulence, right? But if you go below the surface of the ocean, there's stillness, complete calmness, and no chaos. If you can watch it, if you can be the witness of it, if you can feel the energy between your hand, ask yourself, is this energy not everywhere else in my body? Do the tapping exercises, and I'll leave links for those for you. Good afternoon. Do some meditation, earth yourself outside. You can't be grounded unless you're in consciousness, but you can earth yourself and bring your body back to homeostasis. The best time to and this, I've learned this through the process of doing it. The best time to do this is the minute it arises. The minute a thought arises, right? I've left the expression before. Don't engage it. If you were walking along the street and you saw a dog and it had a collar and a leash, but it was loose and it was a Rottweiler, you're not going to engage it. It might bite you, right? So think of the thought as walking the dog. Leave the dog on the leash. Don't pick up the leash, the thought, and go and walk the thought like a dog. That's what I call it. If you do that a few times, not the first, not the second, not the third, maybe the fifth, maybe the sixth, you'll realize the thought will leave quicker and quicker each time. The minute you engage it, it's going to cause a biological response and an emotion in your body. And you're going to be off and down the rabbit hole, and you're going to be engaging the Judy Jetsons and arguing within yourself in the mind and creating sensoria for yourself and others around you. If you can try to hold presence during that chaos there and hold that space and step back, compassion. Turn the other cheek, for they know not what they do. You don't have to engage every thought you think, do you? Thoughts are an illusion. They're no different than the wind outside my window, and they're fleeting. And you're going to have another and another and another and another. And the reason that is because consciousness wants to be manifested in physical form. So consciousness gives rise to thought. That's how beautiful things and miracles happen in our world. But that's also how tragedies and horrific events happen as well. And the sickness again begins in the mind. So please, you guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate you guys so much. On a personal note, we just got through with this big energy from 2/22/2022. Big energy. Pluto return. Pisces, happy birthday to you, Pisces. It's Pisces season. Those of you who have had birthdays already, I wish you a happy birthday. If you have questions, I challenge any of the conscious sentinel beings on YouTube to reach out to a girl and collaborate. It states where one or two are gathered, there he is in the midst. I'm a student and I'm a teacher. That's two. There he is in the midst. I'm conscious. I'm consciousness, and I've integrated the two. I am, therefore I am. And so anyone that would like to band together to assist the collective and other sentinel beings on their journey and point the way, I would be so excited to do that with you all. I don't know everything, and I'm still integrating, and I'm still learning, and I have, many lessons to bring forward for you guys. You have to remember I'm in the process of integrating, and everything has been integrated, and now I'm in a respite situation where my body and my mind and my physical and my spirit and psyche are just resting and healing on quantum level. On a quantum level. And so I'm doing things to love myself and nurture myself and take the time out and the space that I need to heal and to allow the beautiful machine that my body is to do its job as consciousness does for the animals and the trees and the flowers and the wildlife, right? It's the same thing. And so the process of healing takes time. I didn't get there overnight, and so you don't heal overnight either, but you can begin the process. And so if there's questions on how you can begin the journey, or there's guidance that you'd like, please reach out to me. I post a email all the time under my about section. There's 2 of them. If you like, then I'd be happy to talk with you on a personal level. I may take a little trip because of my birthday coming up, and I think I deserve it. I've worked really hard on the integration of this, and I'm really tired, and I believe part of my journey through my life is I never learned to enjoy myself. I always made everything enjoyable for everyone else. And so I'm learning how to enjoy myself. And so I'm learning how to take a trip on my own and warm, long baths and walks on the beach and beautiful books to read and candles lit or incense burned and things just that take a very small amount of effort on my part, right? And grave progress is being made here at leaps and bounds because our evolution is changing and a learning has to be acclimated on a more rapid basis. Healing needs to take place on the more rapid basis. And so, if there are sentinel beings that go before you and can assist you in your healing, you should take them up on it because there are very few and far in between. There are teachers out there. Find the one that fits best for you and that you resonate with the most, and that uh, you just love. And go with that. And if you have not gotten Reiki in your area, look in your area and see where you can receive Reiki treatment and go give yourself a treatment with Reiki. All you do is lay on the table and let them treat you. The minute you decide to make a choice to heal, the decision to heal is already given to you. That's cause and effect, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I love you guys so, so much. This is another video on Cracked Wide Open where I attempt to break consciousness wide open for other sentinel beings that are looking for a pointer along their journey. I love you guys so, so much. Namaste to you all. I hope you have a blessed, blessed day.